Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is where you are. I hope you're having a great day. What I want to talk about today is making sure that we leave room for being pleasantly surprised. Leave room for being pleasantly surprised. So, this is something that I wanted to talk about for a minute now, just kind of been on my list of potential things to talk about. But also, this past week really brought up some discussion on a lot of the ideas I'm going to start talking about in this video, essentially. But it was the infamous bus driver discussion. And one of the things that struck me about it wasn't so much that the person had preferences, which is totally fine, and I'll say why that's fine to have preferences and why you can stay steadfast in your preference. But it kind of skirted the idea of the purpose of dating, and I really wanted to kind of clarify that with people who may not really understand that the dating process is actually a discovery process, at least really early on, before you kind of get into the decision that, oh, okay, I want to commit to this person, or I can potentially commit to this person. You're always going to have to start out with this discovery phase. And this discovery phase is very important. It's very important to consider all the variables at hand when you're in this discovery phase, because again, you may be not allowing yourself to be pleasantly surprised by what you discover. And so in this bus driver discussion, they said that they would absolutely not date a bus driver. They would date someone who was the owner of the bus or bus company, but not the bus driver. Now, it is perfectly fine to have this preference. It is perfectly fine. What I'm discussing is the method of knowing why this preference exists and how to actually navigate this preference, and making sure that you aren't missing anything you may have missing anything that may have been the kind of a vital factor, and you taking another look at this preference for yourself. So when it comes to setting preferences and allowing yourself to be pleasantly surprised, it's very important that before you set this preference for yourself, when it comes to individuals, that you use more than one variable to kind of make your decision here. A lot of this actually just boils down to making sure that you're talking to a person, making sure you kind of have kind of a basic understanding of where they are in life and what they're doing, and making sure that when you make this judgment call, it is based on the reality at hand. So when it comes to the idea of dating a bus driver or not, it really brought my mind back for me to several years ago when I was working in retail. Why was I working in retail? Because I was laid off. That is why I was working in retail. It didn't last very long. It was like maybe a couple months that I was working in retail, and before I got a new job. And so if someone had asked me at that time, what are you doing with your life and all that, and there was a preference that it wasn't someone who worked in retail, they would have completely missed out on my answer for why I was actually in retail at the time and my plans for the future. See, my plan had always been to be an entrepreneur. I have been an employee, but my plan all along was to be an entrepreneur. This actually just happened to be life happening, which is what happens to a lot of people, right? And so, again, if someone had talked to me at that particular time and said, who is she and what does she do? Oh, she's such and such and she works retail. And they say, oh no, can't do it. I don't want someone who works that particular occupation. Because they made a judgment call on just one variable, which is just knowing that that's what I do, they would have missed out. And even that when I say missed out, I mean, not necessarily. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of variables. But anyway, simplifying it here, they would have missed out on potentially knowing someone, right? And so when it comes to, for me at least, like I said, leaving room to be pleasantly surprised, I need more information before I actually make judgment calls on my preferences. Some things are non-negotiable. If I find out someone is a rapist or murderer, we're done. That's not something I'll pursue. But if someone says, hey, I am a bus driver, and my preference is for someone who makes about the same amount of money as me, and it's more than a bus driver's salary, I only have one variable to go off of. That lets me know, hey, I need to at least go on a date or two with this person, or even just have a few conversations with this person to really see what is going on here. It might actually be someone who feels like they're stuck, and they may need a nudge. Not necessarily saying that you should be the person to nudge them, but if what stands in the way between them being in this position and getting a job, the dream job that they always want, is just a therapy session or two. Again, making that judgment call too soon can cause us to really miss out on being pleasantly surprised in this instance. And again, I'm not saying that every single thing is going to result in just, your Disney ending to whatever. But I do see people, and quite honestly, I think this is a social media age issue too, but I do see a lot of people giving up on others a little bit too soon with very limited information. And this actually is noted in studies and things like that, where it's saying that social media and dating apps and whatnot are actually making it a little bit harder to date because people are becoming a little bit more superficial. They're not actually being in the discovery phase long enough, or even kind of discounting it altogether. They're just going through and, that person is, I don't like the person. Nope. And what's happening is because you're not getting to know people, you're not really allowing yourself to ask the right questions, and also allowing your own self to know what you need and want as well. Because that's what a lot of this boils down to. Because I talk a lot about making sure that you know what your needs are. But your needs are kind of always in flux a little bit. Or not a little bit, sometimes a lot of it. If 18-year-old Bliss met 30-something-year-old Bliss, our needs are very different. And some of that just comes from learning experience. And then also some of that too just comes from living and knowing what I need. Some things are a little more set in stone, like I know what my love languages are and things like that. So I know that some needs aren't going to change that much. But I do know that as I get older and I understand myself more, now I see, I needed this versus that. There are some things that I thought were a need and now are completely, those weren't needs at all. That was just me being either superficial or not knowing enough about myself to realize that those were quote unquote needs that society told me were necessary as a woman, that I needed these needs. And maybe I didn't actually need it. But I do know now that when it comes to just the discovery phase of meeting someone, just that initial, making sure that they just kind of have the base level things that you're looking for in a partner, and even just trying to assess, like, if somebody some factors they just kind of knock out of the park, and other ones are kind of but they still do great in other areas, then you're saying, okay, let me really assess this situation. Because what I don't want to happen is for people to start overlooking others or discounting others for things that they really don't know anything about. I would hate for that to happen, because there's a lot of great people out here who maybe, like I said earlier, maybe want more, but they don't necessarily know how to do it just yet, and they're actually getting to that point, and they will get to that point. We all know that those people who, for whatever reason, were at one point in their lives doing XYZ thing, and now you see them as like, oh wow, this is who they became. And yeah, maybe they just needed that one little nudge, or maybe they just needed that epiphany, or maybe they just needed to get to the point where they were just kind of, sick and tired of being sick and tired. I know I've been in that place where you just need that little nudge to get to where you're going. Okay? So hopefully you're all taking this to heart. Be willing to be pleasantly surprised. Let me sit up. I feel so nostalgic. Be willing to be pleasantly surprised. You will, when I say that, this will make dating much less mystical for you. It'll make it seem, I don't want to say easier, but when you start saying, okay, you know what, this person has this, and this, and not sure about this, but let me investigate. It'll make you feel like, oh, I have more options here, right? And even in terms of just what you do day-to-day situations, even things like, I'm trying to think of some pretty typical things, house hunting. You know, when I say let yourself just be pleasantly surprised, maybe there's something that looks, I don't know about this, I don't know about this area. Just go look at it anyway. Just go do a house tour anyway. You may fall in love with some things that you didn't think you would fall in love with and find your little diamond in the rough. And it's like, ooh, if I had said I didn't want this for whatever reason, I would have really missed out on what could have been a great thing if I didn't just allow myself to be pleasantly surprised. Okay? So again, when it comes to people, and like I said, the bus driver analogy, it is okay to have preferences. Just make sure that you fully investigate what is going on when it comes to these preferences that we have. Okay? They're not set in stone. We're just constantly learning about ourselves, okay? Okay, guys? That's all that's happening here. You know, allow yourself to be pleasantly surprised. And that is all. All right? All right. So I hope you're all having a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. Down below, there's also some links to book a consultation. Follow me on Instagram at I am Bliss Alexandria. There's also a email sign-up list. Please do sign up because I have some courses that are coming that I would like you to enroll in. That would be awesome if you did. And I'm always going to have something going on, so you want to make sure that you sign up for those courses. Okay? So have a good one. Thank you so much for watching.